Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Terry Haddad, Vice President of Community Initiatives at Community Services for Children. Welcome to the Parent Project Podcast. This work stems from our vision for an engaged community where every child thrives and every family succeeds. CSC has been serving families for over 50 years, and we know that parenting can be hard. We're inviting local doctors, teachers, counselors, social workers, and other experts to provide perspectives to help parents maneuver the sometimes challenging role of parenting. Hi, Katie. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Let me introduce everyone to Katie Fries. She is a registered play therapist and licensed clinical social worker. Katie has specialties in adults living with the impact of early relational trauma and neglect and parent and child attachment difficulties. Katie is the owner and clinical director of All of You Therapy, LLC, where she works with children, teens, and adults. And we are delighted to have Katie with us today. She's going to talk to us about the parental role in creating emotionally healthy kids. So, Katie, tell us about that. What do parents need to know about their role?
Yeah, I think it's so important for parents to know that in the earliest years of a child's life, but throughout the child's life, the way that a parent or caregiver relates to the emotional needs of their child is what's going to lay the foundation of how a child relates to themselves and how a child relates to others. In other words, if a parent is able to relate to a child's frustration and anger and sadness with acceptance and empathy, that is going to be what helps the child internalize a sense of acceptance for all of their emotional experience, knowing it's okay to be sad, knowing it's okay to be angry, and not just knowing that on a cognitive level, but knowing that on a deep emotional embodied level really stems from having experiences early in life of a parent normalizing a child's experience, meeting a child's emotional experience with a lot of curiosity and appreciation and acceptance. That is what helps a child internalize a positive sense of themselves.
It seems like a tall order. So what happens when parents are busy? What gets in the way of doing all of the things that we should be doing as parents?
Yeah, I think the first thing I want to say about that is that I am really of the belief that parenting or caregiving of children is one of, if not the hardest job in the universe. And so I think in order for parents to meet the emotional needs of their children, the first step more than anything is to have self-compassion, because I think self-compassion is the building blocks of regulation. And what I mean by that is if a parent can say to themselves, oh, this is such a hard moment with my kid. My kid is really overwhelming me. I'm feeling really frustrated. Then that can be the thing that allows a parent to take a step back, to take a breath, and to respond to their child with more empathy and more regulation rather than, yelling at the child or getting frustrated in a way that they later regret. But I think there's a lot of things that can get in the way, and it's often not malicious. It's often not coming from a place in the parent of wanting to do any harm to their child. But so often when parents have difficulties of their own, it can contribute to having a harder time being able to respond to their child in the way that they would like to. So this might look like parents who are really overwhelmed by the amount of work that they have to do with their job, or it might look like parents who are taking care of someone who is ill, whether that's a physical illness or a mental illness. And so what can happen with that is that the parent's attention and focus, even though it's coming from a really well-intentioned place, is put on someone other than the child. And therefore that child can kind of be left in a place, again, unintentionally, of having to meet their own emotional needs or feeling like they have to minimize what's happening in their emotional world in order to keep the peace in the family or in order to not feel burdensome towards their parent or caregiver.
Thank you, Katie. And so what other experiences contribute to unintentional emotional neglect?
Yeah, I think it can be a few things. I think sometimes when parents are struggling with their own mental health, so if a parent is really feeling stressed or is struggling with anxiety or depression, that can contribute to a parent having a difficult time noticing when their child is expressing emotional pain or noticing when their child's behavior might be trying to communicate that they're needing something different. And if a parent is feeling preoccupied by their own worries or struggles or stress, that can make it hard for that parent to be able to identify that their child is trying to communicate that they need something, whether that's something be attention or affection or guidance in some sort of area. Another example is if there's a member of the family who is struggling with addiction or is struggling with a special need of some type. A lot of attention can go to meeting the needs of that person in the family. And again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That person in the family does absolutely need a lot of care. But unintentionally, that can lead the other members of the family, especially the other children, to have their emotional needs go unattended to or unseen a bit.
It's a lot. Parents have a lot on their plates today. What other advice do you have for parents in creating emotionally healthy kids?
Yeah, I think sometimes it is the little things. It is about noticing the little things that make your child special. You might not have tons of hours in the day to play with them or to just have one-on-one time with them. Of course, that one-on-one time, even if you can get it in small increments, even 5 minutes a day, can be so nurturing and nourishing for a child. But when that can't happen, it might look like just making small comments to a child of, oh, I really appreciate this thing about you, or, oh, I really noticed how thoughtful you were with your sister, or I really appreciate you waiting so patiently when I had to do something else, right? So just helping your child see that you notice them and that you notice their positive qualities, and not just their positive qualities in terms of being a really good sports player or getting good grades in math, but the things that make your child the unique individual that they are, that don't have anything to do with how successful they are, those are the things that really helps to develop a child's internal sense of self as someone who is good and worthy of love.
Wonderful. Do you have any books that you would recommend that parents could pick up if they want to read more?
So many, yes. One is called Parenting from the Inside Out by Daniel Siegel. That is a fantastic book that talks about how parents' own backgrounds and how parents' own histories influence the way that they relate to and respond to their children. Another is called Circle of Security. Well, actually, Circle of Security is kind of a type of therapy that supports children in nurturing positive relationships. But the name of the book is Raising a Secure Child. I don't know the author of that. There's another book called Raising Kids with Big Baffling Behaviors by Robin Goebel. That's a great book for parents who have children who are struggling with big emotions or with regulating their emotions. And then the final book that I'll mention is called Good Inside by Dr. Becky Kennedy. And that is another really fantastic parenting book that talks about these topics.
Oh, well, thank you. You've given us a lot of great advice and a lot of great resources. Anything else you want to add at this point, Katie?
I think my last words would just be to give yourself as a parent so much self-compassion. Self-compassion is the building blocks of regulating and the building blocks of being able to relate and respond to your child in the way that you would like to. So parenting is hard, and giving yourself permission to acknowledge that parenting is really hard and that you're doing the best you can do, I think is the foundation of being able to grow and develop into the parent that you want to be.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for being here, Katie. For those of you who want to connect with Katie or learn more, you can find her at her website at allofyoutherapy.net. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for listening. To learn more about the Parenting Project podcast, Project Child, or Community Services for Children, please visit cscinc.org.